Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing and tearing down the Murphy sm10 stereo cassette player Walkman thing. So, how does it look? It's got a really nice blue shell. On camera it's a lot darker, it looks navy on camera. In person it looks ultramarine almost. It's a really nice colour, I like it. The design's quite simple. It resembles an older Walkman. This is from 86, 87, I believe. The front is the only printed piece. It's got some nice silver printing over some smoky black plastic that's transparent. It's got a belt clip, 3 buttons, stop, fast forward and play. It's got a single barrel jack for 3 volts DC. I'm honestly surprised they implemented that. And a volume slider. Usually you get knobs for this, but in this case it's a slider. And a singular headphone socket, so no Dolby noise reduction, no metal tape compatibility. I'm sure it would work fine for chromium dioxide though, or whatever type 2 tape is. So to work it, you just put a tape in, plug some headphones into it, make sure you've got batteries in. The battery door's actually bigger than usual. You'd expect to see usually a battery door half this size so you can insert batteries. I believe that that's a better design than this, because if this falls out, your batteries are guaranteed to fall out. And then you just press play. It does actually sound quite nice. It's not super high fidelity, but the mechanism is robust. The wow and flutter isn't brilliant. It does have a very easily accessible speed adjustment. It's just through this hole right here. It's very easy to adjust, and for that, that's a really good design. You can also adjust the azimuth on it, which is brilliant. It's just straight through a hole there. And that's on cassette players is usually what makes them sound absolutely terrible if that's out. This was out and I just adjusted it, and now it sounds quite nice actually. It's not super high fidelity, as I said, but it's definitely acceptable. If you get a well recorded tape, it's going to sound quite good. It's very simple on the inside. So now for the teardown. I've already taken the screws out, and this is fairly shocking really. It's not necessarily bad though. You've got this board up here, which is for the amplification of the sound from the head, and you've got this board down here, which is for running the motor. All this board gets is DC power of probably 3 volts, because this is ground and then this is the positive terminal, so yeah. Now, what surprised me about this when I first took it apart was, yes, of course, the lack of circuitry, but it was also, when I took this out, we've now got this, we can put this to a side, and when I took this screw out to inspect it further, because this is quite interesting, there we go, got the screw out. What surprised me the most was the lack of something. On a normal cassette player, you'd usually want to have one of these things, which I believe is called something like a leaf switch. Now what it is, it's 2 contacts that get shoved together by something in the play mechanism, and then they make contact. And then that turns the player on because the current runs through here. But I noticed a distinct lack of anything resembling this. The only thing I found was this weird copper leaf that's soldered to the board. Now, how this actually works is that screw connected the ground of the board with contacts. It's got some contacts on the board that go to the switch, and then goes to the screw, sorry, and then the screw goes through onto this brass post and passes the current through this entire aluminium frame. So now this is electrified basically. Well, it's not because it's you know, it's not, it's ground. This, so there will be like sort of current flowing through this, and then the current gets onto these moving parts because I guess the aluminium is rubbing against itself, which then ends up here, which touches this copper leaf thing and completes the circuit. This then goes directly to the motor board. The other cable, the orange one, goes to the positive terminal of the battery directly. So that's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that before. What I did was I had to clean these with a bit of steel wool, these two contacts on it. Right there, because I believe they were a little bit corroded and that led to inconsistencies when the tape was playing. I also replaced the belts, so there's two belts in this. The motor drives this capstan wheel directly, which then has a smaller wheel and turns this other one, which is the one that is the take-up reel. And how the mechanism works is when you play it, it lowers this pinch roller onto the capstan, and then the capstan spins, then the tape gets passed through and wound up on this. And it doesn't have rewind, it only has fast forward, and how the fast forward works is identical to how it plays, other than one thing. It doesn't lower the head or the capstan, so this just freely moves. On play mode, if I were to lift this pinch roller up, it'd be the same effect as fast forwarding. So it's not got any gearing. It just moves this when it's fast forwarding, and it can do that more freely than when it was in this, because this drives the tape forward at the right speed. This just takes up the slack. But when it's on fast forward mode, it can just go as fast as it can, and then that's the fast forwarding effect. That's how that's achieved on here. Now, I did clean everything up. The azimuth needed adjusting and I replaced these belts, and luckily this has a felt pad, so it's got a clutch. Notice how I can move this wheel and not move the take-up reel. Now the take-up reel is moving. When there's too much resistance, this stops. That's luckily because this isn't stressing on the belt. In some even cheaper mechanisms, this can just start spinning and then the belt slips. That's the only way that a clutch system at all happens, but luckily this one has a felt pad, so that's good. So now we're on to my score. I would rate the repairability of this a 9 out of 10 because it's very simple, so yeah, no complaints there. There's 4 screws, there's 5 screws that go into the back of this. You just take them out. That then gives you access to, when this was in here, everything. Take one more screw out and you've got complete access to the entirety of the mechanism, which is very easy. It's also very easy to take the belts out and put everything back together. Now, the actual product, it was fairly cheap at the time. I know this was made in 86 or 87 because that's the date code. I like this motor because it's got a very... Actually, that's interesting. The motor is DC 1.7 volt motor. It's kind of weird and irregular. But there's a date code. I'm sorry, the light's shining on it. Anyway, there's a date code for July 1986, 3rd of July 1986, and it's a Mitsubishi motor, I believe. It's not Mabuchi, because that's too fancy for this model. But I believe this model was just like... I've seen very similar ones that aren't branded Murphy, and they're called the sm10, ironically. And similarly to this model. But I think that there's just a company mass producing these and just slapping whatever logo you want on them. And then, boom, your company sells a Walkman suddenly, because that was all the rage. And yeah, I bet it was fairly cheap. This belt clip's fairly naffly attached. It's just one of these sliding mechanisms that are holding on for dear life, really. How this mechanism works is it drives so the belt clip, it sort of wedges itself up onto this shelf through pure elasticity of the plastic, then it shoves this end up here, and it stays in with a few hopes and prayers. It's very dodgy. I don't like this belt clip design at all. I believe it's fairly robust, but the plastic quality isn't too bad. But yeah, it's not my favourite design for the belt clip. So this product's fairly cheap. It does what it's supposed to, and it was definitely cheap in the day. It wasn't overly cheap back in the day, but when you would have bought this, it wouldn't have been anywhere near a top-end model. So I'm going to rate this product a 5 out of 10 for the product itself. Repairability is a 9 out of 10 because of simply how simple it is. And yeah, that is my review and teardown of the Murphy sm10. I will be adding this to my personal collection when I get it working. I was originally going to intend to sell this. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I bought this for £2 at a car boot sale. That's a fairly decent deal, considering what they're going for on eBay. I think the eBay prices are ridiculously absurd for some things. But yeah. I quite like it. And that's the end of the video. I'll be putting this back together and getting it fully up and running. Thank you for watching and enduring the probably 12 minutes of this video. If you want, I'd actually really appreciate if you leave a like and a comment, because I'm a really small channel at the minute and I'm hoping to grow a bit. Thank you for watching. If you've got this far, thank you so much. Anyway, bye.